This is Past Life, Present Power with Derek Jameson, and this is episode 7. And on this episode, we meet with Andreas Alfaro, who is a pro athlete, acrobat, and stuntman. You might have seen him on America's Got Talent with his team Positive Impact Movement. Now, on this episode, Andreas talks about ancient Greece. He talks about the gods and the goddesses. He also talks about being in Atlantis and what the serpent energy has been telling him. So join us today for what Andreas has to share with you on Past Life, Present Power with Derek Jameson. Hey Andreas, how you doing today?
Yo, what's up? So good, man. How are you?
I'm very good. You look like you're in a very beautiful place. Where are you coming to us from?
I actually found myself in Hawaii this week. Last minute trip, but yeah.
That's I didn't even ask you that when we first got on, but I was like, wow, I feel really good about wherever he's at.
Oh man, it was so good. Yo, this is my first time in Hawaii, and oh, dude, just like as soon as I landed, just being here just feels like a breath of fresh air, man. It's so different than being in the city. It's like I love LA, but it was so nice to like get out of the city every now and then, like need more nature.
Yeah, well, that's a very healing space, and you're looking like ancient civilization energy there. A lot of healing. It's like known as a chakra of the world,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of interdimensional connections happen there too. So I can't wait to see what comes forward for you and what kind of new downloads and upgrades you get while you're there.
Oh, absolutely, man. This morning we were actually we went out early to like watch the sunrise and had a little meditation right by the ocean, just feeling that ocean breeze and the energy. It was like, oh, it was so beautiful, so nice, and like way different, way, way different.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, good. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us and sharing your story about your regression. Well, tell us a little bit about what you do. They know a little bit, but tell us like what's going on in your world and what you do.
Yeah. So I am a professional acrobat, ninja, and stuntman. My main background was in gymnastics. I did that for 8 years, and I recently started back up my acrobatic career. I also did like some martial arts, and now taking all that and like branching it out into TV and film. I've just recently started my stunt career, and so you could say I'm also a movement artist. So anything that's very embodied, and like I practice many different disciplines over my career. So that's a little bit about the things I focus on. As much as I put an emphasis on my body, I also try to balance that out on emphasizing my mind and my soul as well. So this is what led me to actually come to you and ask for the past life regression because I incorporate meditation as a daily practice. And I just wanted to dive deeper into my spiritual practice and remembering these past lives has been something that's been on my mind recently. And it's funny how like these things just kind of like came up. It was actually through a bunch of like movies, books, and things I had been reading at times that just kind of like crossed my path. It was like a lot of like past life themes were coming up, and it just spiked my interest. And one of the movies actually, which I highly recommend for anyone who likes action movies, is called I think it was called Infinite with Mark Wahlberg.
Hmm.
It was super interesting because it was like how he was like life after life, just like on a mission. Like he was sent on this earth on a mission, and each lifetime he had to remember what he was here for. And the last lifetime, he woke up with like I think it was psychosis or some sort of like mental illness that something wrong with his mind, and he started to have to take medications and stuff. But it was just because he was remembering all these like yeah, he had all these dreams of like essentially his past lives that were haunting him. And once he got off the medications, he like started to fully remember a little more and remember what he was here to do. And that was just kind of like one of the things that spiked my interest on to like really dive into this. And when we met, and that which was so coincidental and so like well, no, not coincidental, it was so aligned the way we met. Again, just the signs just pointed towards you. The fact that I was even at the same place at the same time you was super random. I was booked on a last minute gig, wasn't supposed to be there. The fact that you brought that candle of Anubis that you weren't supposed to bring, and that's what started to like started our conversation. I think all those things were just like super aligned, so meant to be. that we had to cross a path, and this was one of the main reasons for that, I think.
Yeah, that's so incredible. That's what I was thinking about today too. I was like, That candle, man, that Anubis candle," because I really wasn't gonna. I brought it the last second. I was like, something says to bring this and put it on the table for the readings and whatever I was gonna do at the spot. So it's just funny the things that are the triggers for us to reconnect with people, and soul contracts and soul friends, that we're all here to do something bigger as a unit, as a network. And it's just such an incredible experience when a little thing like that is what sparks the connection back.
Yeah, absolutely. And on another note of like soul contracts and karmic souls and soul friends like that, for everyone listening out there, one of the main like indicators, and one of the things I've seen like recurring in my life that is like a clear sign that people are like karmic souls here is, for instance, the fact that you have the same birthday as my mother. And then the same thing happens with this other person. She also has the same birthday as my mother, which I also feel an instant soul connection with this person as well. And and then I recently found out that another good friend of mine that we haven't even hung out all that much, but it was kind of like you and I, as soon as we met, we clicked instantly. He has the same birthday as my father. And it's like all these, yeah, everything's been like super aligned. I'm like, whoa, another one and another one and another one, and everything just popping up. And once you start opening your mind up to these signs and you like see them, it just becomes so crystal clear. There's no mistaken like analysis of these signs, you know.
It's like every once you start awakening to that, everything overlaps and layers in. It like the realities overlap and you can't deny it, but it's like you cannot experience that unless you experience it. You won't know what people are talking about unless you are open to that level and you're getting into that space through on your journey, you know? It's just you can't communicate it. People just don't understand it unless you
Yeah,
experience it.
exactly. And it's so funny. I have people like make fun of me all the time. I was like, "Oh, you think everything's the same?" I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of do." And I mean, I can't explain it to you, man, until like you actually see it for yourself. So I'm not here to like convince you of anything. I'm just here to share my truth, you know. So
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
yeah,
It's exactly what it is. Well, I'm excited. You told us a little bit about why you wanted a past life regression. So you had a lot of things that came forward for you because I felt like there was a lot of activations taking place for you. Some people see just straight up past lives and things they need to see in order to heal or to work on or whatever. You had a lot of pieces and a lot of connections that came through and wanted to integrate with you and like awaken parts of you, everything from gods and goddesses to little fragments from past lifetimes to symbols and signs. So I'm going to let you share with us what came forward for you that you want to talk about today and why you think it came forward or what you think is important about it.
yeah, absolutely. And if at any point I miss one of those like topics that you want to talk about, please feel free to refresh my memory. But yeah, in regards to like signs and goddesses and all these things, I saw a lot of lightning come through in the beginning, and and then that was like Zeus, and then Zeus turned into, I think, Hermes was there, and then also I saw uh, opposite of Zeus,
Hades.
Hades, and then Hades came through as well. And it's funny because actually, when I saw the lightning bolts come up from Zeus, the lightning bolts were like turning into serpents and snakes, which was very interesting after like my integration during this period. Shortly after that, I started seeing a lot of snakes, kind of like prior to us meeting, I was seeing a lot of Anubis, like symbols and signs everywhere. Snakes have been popping up in my life afterwards. And it was really interesting because it was just like, again, right place, right time is like super aligned. So gods, goddesses, Hermes, Zeus, Hades popped up. um, I saw one of the things I saw. Oh, and in that whole like Greek era, I also saw Crete, like Crete come up, and then that's when I kind of like tapped into my Atlantean energy, and I saw myself as an Atlantean warrior, which was super interesting because you had mentioned this to me before. You were getting these like Atlantean vibes from us when we first met and everything, and this was the first time I actually experienced it myself, and I saw it. So I saw myself as an Atlantean warrior with the headdress and everything. um, then what was that? Shortly after that, I'm gonna be bouncing around through these things, so there
Yeah.
might be like particular order to it all. But I also saw myself in Pompeii when the volcano erupted, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the ways I died in that lifetime. I think. Um, saw myself in Pompeii. Then, going back to way early on, like the beginning of time, I saw myself as a Neanderthal or Homo sapien. I was like near a water source, and I saw my reflection in the water, and then I saw my silhouette as like a hairy oh, Neanderthal or Homo sapien or whatever it is that I was. And then it's funny because I saw like all the way from the beginning of that timeline, and as like it progressed, I saw all these other things come through. After Pompeii, I saw Crete and Greece and all that, and the Atlantean memories were coming up. Then after that, I saw I saw myself riding a dragon, man. I had a dragon and was like flying through skies. I felt like some Game of Thrones type of shit, like Daenerys on her dragon. And also, shortly after that, so much dragon like symbolism like followed shortly after. And like as soon as that activated, it's like the serpents came through and the dragons came through. Actually, let me show you something real quick. Which so much dragon energy that like it really inclined me to get
Oh my
this
God.
journal of mine. So been
That
really
looks so awesome.
right. So really tapping into that fire, and after the dragons, yes, this was a big one that I already knew from before, just because of like I had so much like I've always been super attracted to Asian culture, and like for no explainable reason, like I come from a Mexican family, my whole family's Mexican. If anything, I might have like some European, Eastern European, but no Asian in my family. And I've always been super attracted to particularly Japanese culture, and the food, like the culture, like everything about it. And this was like a major turning point in the activation, where I saw myself as a Japanese samurai in that lifetime. And I was like, this makes so much sense. Uh, I'm like, of course I was a Japanese samurai. Um, and then also like for everyone listening out there, like if you're ever thinking about like what it is that maybe you were in a past lifetime, I want you guys think about like what are you naturally attracted to in this lifetime? You know, what comes easy to you? What do you seek? What are you motivated by? Personally, I've always been motivated by like superheroes, like samurais, like war movies, battle films, like the knights and stuff like that. And I definitely see how like in each lifetime that was like translated. Like in the Atlantean lifetime, I was definitely part of like the military and the army, and then Japanese samurai, you know, always like a warrior and like ready to fight. I have the fighter spirit inside me, and I can see how that like translates from lifetime to lifetime, and even onto this lifetime. And like now, I'm literally focusing on activating all these lifetimes and like turning that into like my stunt career, because it's things I'm naturally attracted to. I've done a lot of martial arts in my lifetime, and I've in this lifetime particularly, to be specific. And now I'm like, I see how like this all plays out in this time period, how I can use all this, and like it's just like fits me. It's something that just comes so naturally to me. And doing this past life activation, it really like reinforced all these thoughts that like things I'm naturally attracted to. It's because they've happened before, and it's because that's where I'm coming from. And it's because that's who I was, you know. And that's what actually one of the main reasons that movie from Mark Wahlberg really appealed to me was, I think, before we did this past life activation, is that in the movie he was also a Japanese samurai, and in his present lifetime he was starting to forge swords and like in ways that he didn't even know how he was able to do this. It just came so naturally to him. So those themes like transferring on from lifetime to lifetime is a real thing, you know. And you can start by activating your past lives without necessarily doing a regression, just by thinking about the things you're naturally inclined to and the things that you wish to pursue in this life. And I think that's like a big hint as to like where you come from in the past, you know. Another funny coincidence or sign that I now see is like my name Andreas. There's many different cultures out there that have like there's German, but it's also my parents named me after like a Greek name, which means many men. And I now see that reflected as to like how that just happened, you know. Like I believe less and less in coincidences nowadays. and just more as science. So um, so yeah, just tapping back into like understanding that I was in Atlantean in a past lifetime, and my name Andreas just comes from Greek. It's funny to see how all these things just overlap, you know.
It really is. And something that I like that came forward for you, even when you were just recounting this and you were talking about everything that I was seeing prior to that point was a lot of this Anubis energy, and then after you were saying it was a lot of this serpent energy, and and as you were speaking, I heard in my head it was the death of the old him, and it was the rebirth of his power and him standing within his ascended power, and really activating it, and that whole time frame was like this trigger point and this like this power this switch over that took place, which is why Anubis energy was working with you so much. And then all of a sudden you have the dragon energy and the serpent energy. And when we look at ancient Egypt, we even look at the fact that all the pharaohs and the queens would wear the cobras and the snakes on the crowns around the third eye, awakening
Yeah.
power. And it's really cool to see you recognize going from one space of yourself into this masterful space of yourself, because look at what you were just that you were posting and filming with the swords, and it was like I was like, oh yeah, there, that's naturally him right there.
Exactly. Yeah, I recently booked a stunt gig where I was fighting with a katana. I'm like tapping into this past life energy, and as we open this up, it's just like now things are naturally flowing again, and like it's been super interesting. And on that note, after we did this past life activation, I did a my first ayahuasca ceremony shortly after, and then that just like compounded everything that we did. Is like just opened up the floodgates for everything else, like just activating all this energy. And again, there was a lot of serpent energy in my ayahuasca journey too. And there was actually this one guy which caught my eye because he had this really cool like serpent bag where he held his crystals, and I complimented him on it. I was like, oh yeah, he and turns out he makes them himself, and he makes these card decks, these tarot cards. So we connected, and we stayed connected ever since. And I got a few card decks from him, and it was just like it was just so beautiful, like a little foreshadowing slash just like right place, right time. You know, those signs that you're in alignment. um, Super interesting.
That's so cool. You know, and you bring up another thing too. You were talking about Zeus and then the witnessing of the Hades energy too. And you said the opposite. What's the opposite? You were bringing up a really good point of like what we consider to be powerful and then what we consider to be dark. Or, you know, the supreme one and then the dark side. And you
Yeah.
were looking at multiple themes in your regression as like you are having to look at also that darker aspect as well. Why do you think that some of the things you were seeing were parts that were darker things that you had to look at like that?
I believe in the yin and yangs of life, and like how when there's light only exists with darkness, and vice versa. Light is the absence of darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. Um, and what is it? There's dualities. There's such a huge theme in this lifetime and all lifetimes. It's like this is what also makes the good and the bad. You appreciate the good moments because of the bad moments. Can't always be good. Um,
Hmm.
and again, it's about balance and moderation. If you ever go too far on one side, too far on the other, it's no good. You know.
Exactly. And that's why like I know that when anything that comes forward for someone in a regression, the symbols, they're very specific things that come forward for people and they mean big things. Even if it can seem like it's something small, it's just an image that comes up, they actually are like they're setting off really important multidimensional aspects of a person, what they need to see. They don't just mean one thing, they mean multiple things all in once. And that's why I was saying at the beginning of this that you had so much that came forward for you. I mean, even seeing a vision, some visions, like you're not always going to see it just past lives. You're going to see activations that are symbols for you or what you need to know. So, like right now, I'm looking down and I see this stuff with the Joker and seeing the specific Joker style and what you needed to learn because of that as well.
I almost forgot about that. Yeah, yeah. Do you want to elaborate a little more on that? What was
Yeah,
that?
but I mean, you saw like part of the Joker, but you were very specific of like which Joker it was and like why you would be seeing something that's considered darker or
I think for an understanding, right? Like I understood a little more as like where he was coming from. Was this the Phoenix Joker?
yes,
Yes,
uh-huh.
yes. Okay, yeah. Understand. Yeah, yeah. Because exactly like what we deem to be like bad or evil, sometimes sometimes it has everyone has their reasonings behind what they're doing, and in that moment I definitely saw like I yeah, when we were speaking to my higher self or subconscious, I think I remember certain things coming up of like understanding, right, of like understanding what as the why, the like why they were doing all this, why
Yep.
bad people do certain things, which was
Hmm.
very interesting. Yeah.
It's like it's really about a lot of compassion and having compassion for something that we don't think we know about when really when we're witnessing something, we're really witnessing a part of ourselves we don't yet understand.
It's so true, and that's actually one of the things that I've actually still had like a little bit of difficulty of understanding. It's like it's not one of those things that I've like clicked just yet, but like when we're witnessing something, it's yeah, it's merely a reflection of us and things that bother us internally, which is because yeah, everything's connected. Everything is we are all one, and that concept is so simple but so hard to really grasp and fully understand. It's very contradictory, but yeah.
What do you think the overarching messages are that you receive from witnessing your past lives and tapping into those parts of you and pulling them into this life? Because that's really what I gather from what you were doing and experiencing. You were really pulling it all into this center point by being so present to get that information from your own Akashic records, really. But what is your message to people? Why do you think this information is important for you? To receive, and what do you want to share?
Well, one, first and foremost, for anyone that would like to better their lives or live a more purposeful life or just a life of little more understanding, I think it's really important to understand where we've come from, the lessons we've learned, why we went through those things, so that A, we can apply the lessons that we've learned in the past onto this lifetime to make this lifetime a little easier. And once we start being aware and acknowledging all these other things, things will just like fall into place much smoother and much easier with so much ease that you'd start to ask yourself like, man, why was I struggling so much before? It's like it's there's a certain level of resistance that makes us, you know, struggle because we still need to learn certain lessons. And if we're like constantly repeating the same lessons, we're wasting time essentially. And not only like of course, yes, we're here on this earth in this body in this lifetime to learn a specific amount of lessons. But if we remember the lessons we learned in the past, we can apply this to this lifetime and only speed up the process, you know? So I think the main reason why I did the past life regression was A, to have a little bit more of understanding, and B, I, one of my biggest goals and like things I want to accomplish in this life is like I want to live a life of purpose, and I want to make sure that I'm here to do what I was sent here to do. I feel like we're all here on a mission. And I really want to zone in on that and make sure that I'm doing all the right things I need to be doing, I need to be working on the things and like connecting with the people that should be in my life in order to make this world a better place. In order to like collectively raise the human consciousness. And I just want a little more specifics on the smaller things that I could or shouldn't do. You know.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I love that message, and I love that message for people. But so speaking of lessons, what was your biggest lesson that you learned, or that sticks out to you? There's multiple lessons, but what is one lesson that stands out for you that you learned through that experience about yourself?
One of the biggest lessons I learned was just trusting yourself and trusting that you know who you are and where you're coming from. Like the example I gave before of like all these innate things that you're naturally drawn to and you naturally want to pursue. Uh, that is what you should be focusing on. And there's a reason why you like these things, and there's a reason why you do the things you do, and you do the things you love. And also on that note, I believe that everyone should pursue the things that make them naturally happy, because we are placed on this earth with a certain set of talents that naturally come to us. And when we all pursue these talents that make us happy and that we are naturally good at, this is when we are in alignment in our path. And when we're seeking other routes, maybe perhaps routes that our parents would want for us or society tells us that we should do, but we're not truly doing the things that we love in this life, that's where the resistance comes in. And then once you follow in the path that you're meant to follow, like there's a general path that makes you happy, that is where we're going to see so much progress in this life and where people are going to become much more happier human beings and we're all going to be able to live in a much more happier state and a higher vibration and just help each other out, you know?
That's amazing. I love that. That was like that can really take it home right there. Is there anything more like a parting message that you would like to share with people who are listening? I just think as you're speaking, I'm kind of like tapping into the fact that I find that when I do regressions with people, the information that comes forward almost comes forward because I have something to do with it. Um, like sometimes the lifetimes that come forward, it's like a trigger point for us activating something where it's connected to both people,
Yeah.
like me and you. So as you're pulling certain things, it awakens certain things within me. And I feel like that on its own is some kind of like akashic record or agreement from a lifetime that maybe we knew that we were going to do that, or it's just what was going to happen naturally without us having any kind of idea.
And on that note of like the people that you connect with on such a deep level in this lifetime, you should know that we're constantly going to keep finding each other, lifetime after lifetime, no matter what, because like attracts like, this energy is like a magnet. We're constantly drawn to these karmic souls, especially if we're here on a mission. If there's soul contracts involved too, that it's bound to happen. You guys have to just trust there is more after death. There is a life after death, and it's something. One of the things I love about my Mexican culture is that we celebrate the Day of the Dead. There, and it's a reminder that the people have moved on and passed on this life. There is more to this life, and they continue to live on. It's not the end. So have
It's
faith,
not the end.
not the end.
Mm. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I know I'm going to put some of the links for Andreas down in the descriptions, but if you have a specific website or Instagram link or anything that you want people to go to, you can say it.
I'll send it over. But yeah, my Instagram is Alfaro Andreas. That's ALF as in Frank, AROANDREAS.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming to us all the way from ancient Hawaii, we'll say, because you're not, I know that you're there like picking up certain frequencies from like when our consciousness is a certain level, we're picking up frequencies in a place from a certain level too. So I know that you're going to be upgrading your physicality and your non-physicality all at the same time, and I'm excited to see how that unfolds for you.
It was good talking to you, brother. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you for everything you've done for me again.
Yeah, of course, and that will continue to do and see how it unfolds for everybody. And thanks everybody for watching this episode. I appreciate you all.